Hi everyone, Dutch Reefer here. Welcome back to this new Focus Friday video in which I will be focusing on clownfish, their behavior, the way they act, the way they live in the aquarium, and the way you should care for them. So, like I said, welcome to this new video. If you're already a subscriber, thank you very much. If you're not, then please feel free to subscribe. And let's get going with the video. So first, to start off, I want to mention that after a week or two or three, my sand is cleaning up. So while I had some yellowish algae on the sand, you can still see it a bit here. A few weeks ago, it has slowly decreased over the past days, and now I'm almost got rid of it, as you can see in this overview shot. So I haven't messed around with it, it's just gone, luckily. So that, for me, that's a sign that the algae are doing their job. Like you've seen before, I've added some Cheeto. I think it's growing steadily. And also added some color this afternoon, so also to add some extra variation to the equation. So like I said in the beginning of this video, and as you might have read in the title, this video will be about clownfish. These little fish are, of course, one of the main reasons that a lot of people wanted to have a saltwater aquarium in the first place. A few years ago, or actually more than a decade ago, when a little company called Pixar created the movie Finding Nemo. And of course, after that movie, clownfish were sold a lot. I think this might have been the biggest massacre of clownfish in recent history. As a lot of people, of course, didn't know how to care for them, and so luckily these fish are quite easy to breed in captivity. So I think that's one of the reasons why their numbers are still quite large. It's quite easy, if you put a lot of effort into it, to grow these little fish. I haven't been able to, but I know a few people who have a couple of them who are laying eggs and breeding them and hatching them, and yeah, it's really cool. There are a lot of different variations of clownfish. These are the common ones. I won't bother you with the Latin names, mainly because that might be me ending up with saying the wrong names or making mistakes, so I'll just call them clownfish, or Nemo if you want to, but I'll call them clownfish. So I've had these fish for since Christmas. They were a Christmas present from my parents-in-law, and they have been hosting. First, they have been hosting the corner of the aquarium for a few days, and I thought, oh no, I hope they find their way into a coral, and luckily they did. So as you can see, they're hosting euphyllias right here. I've just added this new euphylia yesterday, and they are already quite in love with it. And the old one is back here. I moved it a bit to the back. So they're close together. They switch now and then, but they seem to like their newest home, their latest addition to the variety of homes in this aquarium. There are a lot of things clownfish can host, so euphylia is one of them. I have had clownfish before in my previous tank, which hosted a Goniopora. So any coral with long tentacles or soft surface, they can in theory host. Like this Duncan, they might do that. I've seen people where they host Ricordea or Rhodactis. So of course, the classic image of a clownfish is hosting in an anemone. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. The last video I did where I mentioned anemones, I think I pronounced it in 3 different ways, so excuse me if it's wrong, but it's the only way for now, which I'll call it. And At least then when I'm saying it wrong, I'm saying it consistently wrong. So yeah, like I mentioned, anemones. My girlfriend actually wants me to buy a carpet anemone, which I will, I think, in a while, but I first need to make some room for that, since carpet anemones are quite large and quite hostile towards other corals and even fish. So they can eat fish that are strolling by, and then it can grab them and devour them, sting them. And these clownfish, they actually have a very special skin, which allows them to host in an anemone, for example, without getting stung by the anemone. So whilst other fish might be eaten by it and stunned, these fish actually like the anemone, and they live in symbiosis with it. So what you'll see in nature is that whenever a clownfish finds some food, they'll typically also feed something to the anemone, and it's the symbiotic relationship. So they feed the anemone, and the anemone protects them from predators. So actually a really cool kind of symbiosis, which is I think quite commonly known. So you might have already known this fact. But then again, if you didn't know, then now you know it. So, like I mentioned before, these are the very common orange clownfish with three stripes, with three white stripes, which are then neatly divided by a black line. So, as far as design goes, I think it's my opinion that these are the most beautiful clownfish out there. But they're also the most common ones out there, so I can see why people like different clownfish. There's clownfish that are mainly white, which are called snowflakes, I think. There are almost completely black clownfish. There are black and white clownfish. I also like the black and white ones, where they're completely black with white stripes. I think they're called panda clownfish. And yeah, the more exotic they get, the more outrageous their prices get as well. Of course, breeding designer clownfish, I think, involves more risk, or at least you'll see less of them. But these common ones you can get for around $30 to $40 or euros per pair. So you'll actually have two of them. You can also buy a single one, but I think they really like to be together. Don't worry. If you buy two of which you think are male or female, because they will adapt to the circumstances. So if you buy two, then usually the larger one will act as the female and the smaller one will act as the male, and they will, in the end, they will find a way to live together. Actually, these two, when I bought them, they were very close together, and then they decided they each wanted a different coral for a while, and then I moved the corals together, and then they were suddenly back together again, and they were fighting a bit, but as you can see, they're doing okay right now together. So maybe it's somewhat similar to human relationships, where usually you will get along, and sometimes you'll have a quarrel with your other half. So yeah, I think I covered most of the basic information that you need to know on having clownfish. So if you're buying clownfish, be sure to have a coral in which they can host. A Euphilia, an anemone, these are the most common corals that they will most likely adapt to. Also, captive bred clownfish will take a little more time, or it will be harder to let them host with a coral. If you have them caught in the wild, there's the biggest chance that they will. But these are also captive bred, and they're well aware of the coral, as you might been able to see in the past 9.5 minutes. So yeah, they feed on pretty much mysis, other kind of meaty foods. So really quite easy. You can also feed them flakes. They feed easily. They are not hard to keep. So they're small, so you can keep them in a relatively small tank. They will stay small. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.